Thanks very much. I apologize for being late. I got caught up in traffic and the weather is not helping. Thank you very much for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. I am pleased to have the opportunity to be here with you today. And this is Politburo stuff, but apparently we're engaged with the Ross School of Business and the Master of Supply Chain Management program in the Tauber. Is it Tauber or October? Tauber Institute of Global Operations, and we look forward to expanding our relationship with the university. Before we go any further, there are three people here in the front row that are part of the leadership team of Chrysler, and they're probably the most important connection that you have to Chrysler, and I think it's an important relationship for us in terms of establishing an ongoing discussion with this campus. I do have to confess that I find it always a challenge to speak to students. It's not the first time I've done it, because I'm sure you don't want to hear a formal speech that is the tone of a lecture, and that probably doesn't teach you much. I've sat through many such presentations over the years, and I'm no great fan of them at all. And that is why I wanted to start today with something concrete to show you what it is that we do at Fiat and what we do at Chrysler, so you can understand who we are today. We make these cars, and we also make these, and these, as well as this kind, and this kind, and we have recently begun to make these, and we have just introduced this one at the Detroit Auto Show. We built it just for you, by the way. And we make this kind of SUV as well as this kind. And we make trucks like these as well as cars like these and like this one. And we end up selling these to the rich. And we make a lot of people rich by asking them to drive these. So in truth, starting this way is a way of saying that I really have no intention of giving you a lecture. I'm not here as a professor or as an economist, and certainly not as a politician. Putting it at its most basic level, I am a simple metal basher on a global scale. Now, recently, Fortune magazine wrote that the transformation of Chrysler and Fiat into a viable global competitor will be the stuff of business school case studies. Now, whether or not your professors will give you this assignment, I hope that at least tonight I'll be able to provide you with some insight into the factors that have accounted for the beginning of what I consider to be a significant turnaround. I want to share some of the actions that were taken and why this at the time made business sense. But even more importantly, I wish to describe the mindset, the courage, and the passion of the leaders and the people throughout our organization who accomplished goals that many outsiders considered at the time, a mere 3 years ago, simply impossible. This tale begins in late 2007 with the onset of the Great Recession. It was a cataclysmic event that forced the auto sector to face up to the need to reform value-destroying business strategies that we had dragged around behind us for many years. And these included industrial inefficiencies, brand-damaging marketing approaches, and most fundamentally, chronic production overcapacity. Now, U.S. automakers struggled to make a profit on the core business of building and selling cars. And instead, they were depending on related activities such as financing. Over the years, every American automaker also went through an expensive acquisition spree, buying not only other vehicle brands, but also venturing into non-automotive businesses. And this was another example of letting focus stray from the essential job of creating products that people want to buy. And when a perfect storm of economic forces converged, the U.S. vehicle market went from 17 million annual sales to less than 10 million, and it went there almost overnight. And this was a disaster for an industry which had high capital costs and had structural inefficiencies and was already operating in negative margins. And so by early of 2009, Chrysler was losing nearly $1 billion a month. And so Chrysler had no choice. It either had to ask for government assistance or it was going to disintegrate. Now, because of training and my other experiences, I've always been a free market advocate. I've always subscribed to the notion of creative destruction. It was a theory that was advanced by the Austrian economist Schumpeter. But this is the belief that inefficient companies need to be swept away to make room for progress, growth, and innovation. And in 2009, unfortunately, the normal financial mechanisms that are used to assimilate and digest corporate failure had come to an absolute standstill. The credit markets were completely frozen, and lenders who had previously been involved in debtor and possession financing would not be providing financing at any price. It would have been impossible in 2009 to achieve an orderly liquidation of a car business in the United States, whether the business was Chrysler or General Motors. And the effect on the country's manufacturing infrastructure would have been catastrophic, including a destabilization of the automotive supply base. And at that time, Fiat, out of Europe, began a dialogue with Chrysler about providing technology infusions to help remedy nearly a decade of neglect in that area, and the discussion led us to become involved, ultimately, in some very lengthy and detailed conversations with the United States Treasury. And that began the process that led Fiat to enter into an alliance with Chrysler. And as a result of a series of events, it now owns a controlling interest in a new Chrysler group that was born 31 months ago following a structured bankruptcy. Now, at the time, back in 2009, every constituent, management, the union, suppliers, debtors, and shareholders alike made deep concessions to bring a new competitive Chrysler into existence. In addition, loans made by the government of the United States and Canada gave us a second chance and the opportunity to build a future and a better one. They showed leadership and political courage by demonstrating faith in the people of Chrysler, even though it was far from being, at the time, a universally popular choice. And in truth, Treasury's decisions to let Fiat come in and take an equity interest in Chrysler was rooted in a fundamental understanding of several facts of business. The fact that Fiat brought a phenomenal arsenal of powertrain technologies that will help Chrysler deal with the requirements to make fuel economy standards that will now be mandatory by 2025. Historically, Fiat has been known to make small, fuel-efficient engines, and it was something that Chrysler was in dire need of. The fact that Fiat also gave Chrysler access to the non-NAFTA market was incredibly helpful. Fiat, in fact, is the largest player in Latin America and obviously has a sizable distribution network in Europe that would otherwise be unavailable to Chrysler. Fiat also had a number of automotive architectures to help improve Chrysler's competitiveness. Platform sharing enables an automaker to achieve critical economies of scale by spreading development and manufacturing costs across a larger base while still allowing for the creation of vastly different body types and brand distinctive vehicles. Now, I'll give you an example. The 2013 all-new Dodge Dart compact sedan, which you saw earlier and which was just launched at the Detroit Auto Show, will go on sale in the second quarter of this year. And it's a car that is totally based on the Alfa Romeo Giulietta architecture. That is a car fundamentally different and much smaller than the one that you've seen and will see in Detroit. The Dart will achieve outstanding fuel economy, and it will give Chrysler a strong competitor in the largest retail segment in the U.S. for the very first time in many years. By 2014, a majority of Chrysler's worldwide car volumes will be based on architectures that have been donated or that were part of the initial endowment from Fiat to Chrysler. So the final point which I'd like to make, and it was important to the decision by the U.S. Treasury, was the fact that Fiat had a track record of being able to turn around the car company. In 2004, those of you who remember 2004, Fiat was widely believed to be on its deathbed. Analysts and journalists competed to see who would be the author of the best obituary. And yet, 4 years later, in 2008, Fiat posted the largest trading profit in what was then its 109th year of history. And so Chrysler leadership, the part of which is here, proved to be equally courageous in refusing to give in to forecast of doom. Our people understood the need to reimagine the future by going beyond long-time habits and the traditional paths that have been taken. So the very first thing that we did was we flattened the organization like never before in order to create an incredibly fast-moving team. Leaders took on broad spans of control to expedite decision-making, and about 2,000 people reported and continue to report directly to me as CEO. We began implementing world-class manufacturing, or WCM, which was pioneered by Fiat, and it is a true step change that employs an incredibly rigorous approach to remove waste from all of our production processes. And in order to change the conversation about our products, we challenged our organization to bring out 16 all-new or substantially refreshed products with improved powertrains, world-class interiors, and a very heightened attention to detail. We did all this in 19 months. The speed and the quality of the execution were beyond certainly any established practice and beyond any conventional expectation. It took a fearless team to bring about such a remarkable result. And in combination with the Fiat Alliance, the radical changes that we have now made at Chrysler have turned the group into a viable competitor. And in 2011, the year that just closed, Chrysler is now back in the black, and we expect to post an operating profit for the year of about $2 billion. Our sales and our market shares have showed significant gains in both the United States and in Canada, and even independent surveys now confirm that quality has been markedly improved. In the last 31 months, we paid back every cent of US and Canadian government loans. We paid it with interest, 6 years ahead of schedule. And it was our way of rewarding the faith that was shown in us and freeing us now to chart our own destiny in alliance with Fiat.